Hello, Oilers fans. I hope you all slept well. I hope none of you have too much of a headache or hangover today if you were celebrating last night. The Oilers, of course, defeated the Vegas Golden Knights 1-0 in overtime to clinch their series in 5 games over Vegas and move on to the Western Conference Final for the second consecutive year and also for the third time in the last 4 seasons. Now, there's a lot of work ahead for Edmonton. But in today's video, we're not looking ahead. We are going to take a look and reflect on the series against Vegas as a whole. I'll be going over some of the stats for your players, your Edmonton Oilers, of course. I'll be going over some of the unsung heroes, in my personal opinion, some of the major turning points of the series, and then we'll just wrap things up. This is a very, very formal day after discussion. I don't have enough of a voice to do like a full 30 or 40 minute long episode. I really got to calm down on those live streams. The heart rate's getting a little high, almost hit 170 beats per minute last night in overtime, and I got to stop screaming so much during the games. But overall, it was an absolute blast, and I would rather my voice feel like this because I'm screaming in joy than screaming in agony, and I think we can all appreciate and understand that feeling. So if you end up enjoying today's discussion and kind of reflection on the series, make sure to hit that like button. And if you really like today's video and you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel as we are nearing 6,000 subscribers, which is absolutely wild to me. We hit 5,000 when the playoffs started, and now we're almost at 6,000, and the support has been incredible. Viewers from all over the world have been tuning in, and I truly cannot thank you all enough. So thank you for all of your continued support. Now, as I mentioned, the Oilers last night, they won 1-0 in overtime off of the heroics of Kasperi Kapanen. Now, who had Kasperi Kapanen on their bingo card to be a hero, not only in the playoffs in general, but in this series? Now, the Oilers, they started off the series pretty strong. They won both games in Vegas, though there is an argument that Game 2 against the Golden Knights, the Oilers probably stole one. I think Vegas had the better game. I thought they controlled the puck better. They had some good looks, but Calvin Pickard, he really locked things down late in that third period, and especially in overtime. And then something strange happened. And something very unfortunate happened. Calvin Pickard was no longer available for this series after Game 2. He was landed on, I believe it was Thomas Hertl, landed on his left leg in Game 2 before Vegas, as they were pressing to tie the game up and get this thing to overtime. And Calvin Pickard, he was clearly shaken. He was trying to shake something off on the ice. The ref asked if he was okay. They didn't blow the whistle. Vegas, of course, scored right away. The game eventually went to overtime. Calvin Pickard looked great in that overtime. The fact that it came out later that he was injured and couldn't play the rest of the series, the way he played in overtime in Game 2 gave the Oilers a chance. Edmonton had a 5-minute power play that they did not convert on in Game 2. But eventually, McDavid and Draisaitl, they connected for that game winner in Game 2. And then Game 3 happens, and it's announced that Pickard can't go. So now you need to rely on Stuart Skinner, who up until Game 3 against Vegas had played 2 games in the postseason, and he was shelled against the LA Kings. He had given up 11 goals in less than 2 games because he was pulled in Game 2 against LA, and he looked awful. He looked awful. He was laughing after the 5th goal against the Kings in Game 2. And I put out a video after Game 2 against LA. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I said in that video, he's not an NHL goalie, cannot play another game for the Edmonton Oilers. Pickard started 6 straight games for Edmonton after that, won those 6 games, including the first 2 against Vegas. And then in Game 3, the Oilers, they get out to an early 2-0 lead. Vegas, they tie that game up before the end of the first period. Then Vegas gets the lead. The Oilers tie the game late. 3 minutes left in the third. The Edmonton Oilers, the never say die Oilers, they tie it up. And then Vegas gets a late goal. In fact, it was so late, there was less than 1 second left on the clock. Stuart Skinner came out to cut the angle, but he came out way too far, way too fast. Everyone on the ice was panicking, the defenseman and Stu, the goaltender. And then, unfortunately, a puck shot towards the goal was deflected in by Leon Draisaitl. An own goal with 0.4 seconds left. Now, after Game 3 against the Golden Knights, the Oilers still had a 2-1 series lead, but I absolutely lost my marbles on Stu because up until that point, he had played only 3 games, and all 3 games, he was a major factor why the team did not win any of those games, and I put the sole blame on Stu. I put the sole blame on Stuart Skinner. I had an absolute meltdown once again with regards to Stuart Skinner because he hadn't shown that he was even remotely capable up until that point. And yes, was it unhinged? Absolutely. Was it totally fair? Absolutely not. That's why I call them fan reactions right after the game, because that is when the emotions are highest. I put the blame on Stu because I really did think that the Oilers had a chance to win that game in overtime. I didn't think Vegas looked amazing. I thought the Oilers were controlling play in that third period, but credit to Vegas. They were pushing and pushing and pushing. And Stuart Skinner, of course, he got the brunt of my wrath. In fact, he got basically all of my wrath. I've had a little bit of wrath towards Draisaitl that game. I thought Draisaitl had his worst game as an Oiler in Game 3 against Vegas. Darnell Nurse also had a very bad game as well. But I put all that blame on Stu. And I once again, in that specific video, I said Stu was not an NHL goaltender. I said they should start Olivier Rodrigue in Game 4. And I said that Stu shouldn't ever play another game for the Edmonton Oilers. Is that super fair to say? No. Looking back in hindsight, I think a lot of fans understood the frustration. There was a lot of fans that were like, yo, I think you're being really hard on Mr. Stuart Skinner here. And obviously I was. And I'm not going back on my words there. I felt that in that moment that was true. That after Game 3, where Stu Skinner in the playoffs, he was sitting at an 18 save percentage, a 5.5 goals against average. Like, that's not NHL caliber at all. Now, it's a small sample size. What I should have realized, folks, and for those of you who have been tuning in a lot, and a lot of you do tune in very regularly, you'll know I like analytics. I like analytics. I like numbers. I like looking at things from a broader perspective. And for some reason, goaltending is something that I don't properly understand as a position, because it's the one position that I never played when I played hockey growing up, and even as an adult, it is the one position that I truly don't understand from a technical aspect to a positional aspect to a movement aspect. And it's also the hardest position, or arguably the hardest position in the entire sport. That's why I've never played it. Also, the pressure to be a goaltender, I can't even imagine what that feels like, especially in the postseason, especially coming in cold. Stuart Skinner came in cold. And for someone like me who likes numbers, I look at things from sample sizes. There are so many times, and I've even mentioned this during the playoffs, you'll know that I will mention when I talk about the advanced analytics, the underlying metrics, the expected goals, all that sort of stuff, I will specifically say, hey, don't put too much stock into these specific numbers because it's a small sample size. This is a 3-game sample or 4-game sample or whatever you want to call it. For Stuart Skinner, I was not fair to him and how small the sample size was for him in these playoffs. I was looking at his performance overall in his career. Now, going into Game 3 and after Game 3 against the Vegas Golden Knights, Stuart Skinner, in minimum 20 games played in the playoffs, had the worst all-time save percentage in NHL history for any goalie to start 20 games in the playoffs or more. All time. So, my criticism, in my opinion, was valid after Game 3, that Stu was not NHL caliber at this level, at this time of year. But Stu has done something here. He has completely flipped the script. He has rewritten the narrative, and he has made me eat crow. And I am eating crow. I'm eating crow today. There are people who are going back on that video from a few days ago after Game 3. They're commenting on it, being like, hey, I think you owe him an apology. And listen, last night I did apologize to Stu. I had him wrapped around my arm like this. I had a big picture of Stuart Skinner right here. And I asked if Stu could forgive me. I asked if the fans could forgive me. And most of you can, which I truly appreciate. There's a few of you that are probably watching. You're like, I'm never going to forgive this guy. He is way too mean to Stuart Skinner, way too harsh. Listen. At the end of the day, I am a fan. There's a reason I am not behind an NHL bench. There's a reason why I'm not a credentialed media member. I am an independent media member. Everything that I talk about, all of my opinions, it is just who I am. In the moment, I will have very strong reactions, but moving forward, of course, those day after discussions that I do when I'm like this, just in front of the camera, very formal, very calm, very collected for the most part, that's when I have an ability to look at things objectively. And sometimes I go back on things, sometimes I don't. I'm not going back on what I said against Stu after Game 3, but Stuart Skinner has proven over the last 2 games that he can be the guy. He can be the guy that the team has thought highly of over the past couple of seasons. He can be the guy that helped Edmonton go to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final last year against the Florida Panthers. Now, in saying that, I'm not dumping water on anyone's parade here, right? I'm not trying to dump on the parade. But again, 2 shutouts in a row, that's a small sample size. But we now have a slightly larger sample overall in the postseason for Stu Skinner. He has now played 5 games. He has won 2 of them, and his save percentage is getting to a much more respectable level. His goals against average also a much more respectable level. Can he maintain this type of consistency? I am not asking for him to shut the Vegas Golden Knights out, or I guess whoever they play in the conference final. Sorry, I'm not asking for Stu to put up shutout caliber performances. This, to me, is an outlier, just as much as giving up 6 goals a game was also an outlier. So we know Stu is kind of in the middle of what he has shown so far in the playoffs. He is not a 6 goals against goalie, and he's not a goalie that will consistently give Vezina caliber or a Dominic Hasek caliber performances where he shuts the door completely. What we want from Skinner, though, is average, right? We want him in the middle. He's either the hottest goalie on the planet or he's so cold he's at absolute zero temperature. What are we getting from Stu from night to night is the biggest question. This is why fans are very, up and down on him. And for a lot of fans, they're still down, right? There's a lot of fans that I think aren't convinced that this is going to be sustainable. But at the moment, I don't care if it is. At the moment, the Oilers are in the conference final because Stuart Skinner helped them get there, and you can't ask for much more from that. Speaking of players to help Edmonton get there, the Oilers all series, all playoffs long, have been getting contributions up and down their lineup. They have the best depth in the entire NHL, and we're going to take a look at the series stats for some of the Oilers and, of course, their goaltending against the Golden Knights. All of the numbers that you see on screen here are from the series against Vegas, and you're going to see a lot of pluses because Edmonton dominated when it came to the 5-on-5 play. They outscored the Golden Knights 15-7 at 5-on-5 in this series. Yes, Vegas only scored 7 5-on-5 goals in 5 games. A brutal showing for their top players, but also we have to give credit to Chris Knobloch, the way he adjusted his lines, the way he has adjusted the tactics of his team, how they defend that neutral zone. After Game 3, the Oilers only gave up 6 rush chances. That was according to Sportlogic. Mike Kelly on Twitter or X.com. Highly recommend you all give Mike Kelly a follow, by the way. He is like one of the most brilliant minds out there. Sportlogic is a company that I follow closely because I love the analytics. But everything you see on screen here, this is just raw data. Draisaitl, he led the team in points in this series. He had 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. He was a +2 rating. Connor McDavid had 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points, and a +2 rating. Evan Bouchard was next up. Look at Bouchard here. He had no goals in the series, but he had 5 assists, and he was a +7. He was the highest plus-minus rated player in the entire series, and he also averaged the most ice time of anyone in this series. Evan Bouchard had maybe the best series we've seen from him as an Edmonton Oiler, the best 5-game stretch I've ever seen from him from the defensive end, and he still helped produce on offense, so that's incredible to see. Corey Perry, he came in clutch. He had 3 goals in this series, 4 points +2. Evander Kane, he made his presence felt in this series as well. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, a +4 rating. Nuge with no goals in the series, but he did put up 4 apples and a +3. Zach Hyman, 3 points, a +4. Adam Henrique. Look at Adam Henrique, 2 goals. He helped the Edmonton Oilers win Game 4 at home to go up 3-1. He had the game winner in that one. 2 goals and a +1 rating in that series against the Golden Knights. Darnell Nurse with a goal and an assist, +3. Connor Brown, 1 goal, 1 assist, +1 rating. Jake Wallman, take a look at Wallman's stats here. He only had 1 point in the series. It was a goal in Game 2, but he had a +5 rating. Jake Wallman has been so unbelievably good on that back end for Edmonton with the absence of Matthias Ekholm. What a pickup that has been for Edmonton. Holy smokes, the team is lucky to have him, and I will continue to always thank Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson for pulling the trigger on that trade, and I'm also always going to thank Mike Greer from the San Jose Sharks for I wouldn't say giving us Wallman, but that was clearly I'm kind of helping my old team out here. Jake Wallman is an absolute stud. And then Kasperi Kapanen, he gets the series clinching goal, 1 goal, 1 point, a +1 rating in 2 games for him. And if we take a look at the goaltending stats here, Calvin Pickard, before he left this series with injury, a 2.66 goals against average, an 878 save percentage. And taking a look at Stuart Skinner, look at this. He had a 2-1 record. He had a 1.28 goals against average and a 944 save percentage. Of course, those numbers aren't completely sustainable, but boy, oh boy, is that something for Stuart Skinner to build off of. And the team loves it. Oh my goodness, the support that Stu got in the locker room after the game last night and also after game 4, the team loves him. There was speculation that the team disliked Skinner or didn't feel comfortable playing in front of him. I think that entire narrative has to be thrown out the window now. That could not be any further from the truth, at least based on the interviews that we've seen, the way players react on the ice after a win with Stu in the net. And for Stuart Skinner, obviously, if he plays like that, of course the team is going to love playing in front of him. Holy smokes, not every mistake ended up in the back of the net over the past 2 games, but the Oilers also weren't making as many mistakes. The last 2 games, I would say, were Edmonton's best defended, probably of their entire playoff careers. Honestly, I thought the Edmonton Oilers did such a good job at shot suppression, but so did the Golden Knights. Last night after Game 5, I talked about it a little bit in my post-game fan reaction that it felt like a game that was from the early 2000s, like a New Jersey Devils-style trap game, or a Minnesota Wild like 2003 when they had like Manny Fernandez in goal, and if any of you remember them. Listen, I'm old. I'm a boomer. I'm an unk, as the kids would say, so a little shout-out to the Gen Alpha, Gen Z crowd out there. But for the Oilers, well-defended game. A lot of people will find a 1-0 game boring. I thought it was one of the most entertaining games of the playoffs personally, and I couldn't be happier that the Oilers come out on top, and they're going to have a lot of long-term success if they continue to have a lot of those pluses on the board, outscoring their opponents at 5-on-5. Would you like to see that power play get better? Absolutely. The Oilers' power play was 1 for 10 in the series against the Golden Knights. Not even close to good enough, in my opinion. They have to start producing on the power play, but at least their penalty kill really shut things down in the last couple games of that series. And, of course, the 5-on-5 play has been great. Now, we're going to take a look at a few more stats here, some of the extra numbers, and then at the end of the video, I will talk about a couple of the unsung heroes of the series, and then we're going to wrap things up. So, the numbers for Edmonton at the bottom of the screen, you'll see they won 1-0. Their expected goals for at 5-on-5 last night, 54.91%. Most of their good chances came in that overtime period during that little flurry at the end in the crease. High danger chances were dead even for both teams, 50%, and the Oilers were slightly below 50% in the shot attempts, but this was essentially a 50-50 game. This was one of those games where one bounce either way is going in the net. It was such an evenly matched game, and credit to the Golden Knights for playing as well as they did. They were missing key pieces in their lineup. Brandon Saad wasn't playing. Mark Stone, who's one of their better grindy power forwards, he was not in the lineup. And Alex Pietrangelo, we know, was nowhere near 100%, and I guarantee there's a couple other guys on Vegas that have been dealing with a few injuries because some of their players did not look right, and we'll talk about it. So, the numbers on the right side of the screen, 2 consecutive shutouts for Stuart Skinner. Unbelievable effort from Stu. Unbelievable effort from the team in front of him. You win as a team, you lose as a team. I will be much more aware of who to place blame on after games. I can't guarantee that I won't pick on specific players after losses moving forward, especially in the fan reactions, because I literally hit record. As soon as the game's done and I end the live stream, I hit record. Like, I'm still in the heightened emotional state. Could I wait like an hour before I record? I could, come down from that emotional high or low, or wherever I'm at. But that's why I like recording the fan reactions as soon as the game ends. I like providing the fans that raw reaction, a look into my own psyche after a win or a loss, the highs and lows, right? And I find that just helps make my content feel more authentic. I am who I am, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm not going to apologize for that. That's just how I am as a fan, and I've been like that since I was a kid growing up. Whenever the team would win, I was the happiest kid on the planet. If the team lost, I would rage and throw things and pout and whine and be grumpy the rest of the night and into the next day. So, of course, as I've gotten older, I've learned to manage those emotions much, much better. Obviously, during games, I don't get that mad during losses. I think most of you who tune in understand that after a loss, I'm actually usually pretty level-headed. But the playoffs Playoffs are another story, right? The playoffs are a high intensity. I just want this team to win so bad. I am desperate to watch this team lift a championship above their heads. I'm desperate to watch McDavid and Draisaitl just build on their legacies as two of the best players to have ever played in the NHL. And I want it so bad that, sometimes we get carried away, right? So, but two consecutive shutouts for Stuart Skinner. Unbelievable performance from him coming in cold. Bad game 3. That series could have changed completely. The way the series changed completely in Edmonton's favor in game 3 versus LA. I was incredibly concerned that the series was going to change in Vegas's favor after game 3 in Edmonton. However, the Oilers went, you know what? Nah, we're actually just going to control the entire narrative here. We're going to play the 2 best defensive games of our entire playoff careers, and we're just going to lock things down. No worries, folks. We're going to take this thing in 5. So, gentleman's sweep from Edmonton. Love to see that. Kasperi Kapanen with the series-winning overtime goal. Kapanen, of course, inserted into the lineup after Game 3, his first playoff game of the season, and he made his presence felt in Game 4. And then, of course, Game 5 tonight, an unsung hero. One of those players that you just don't expect to win you the hockey game. That's what you need. That's the type of player that you need to step up, score an overtime goal, help your team advance in the postseason. We know we're not going to get a lot of goals from Kapanen. That was his first goal since January, I think. Just in general. We're not going to get a lot of goals from Kapanen. But what are you doing when you are on the ice, and can you be a difference maker? Can you come up clutch? Well, for Kapanen, he did, and I couldn't be happier. So, great for Kapanen. That is massive for the team, and massive for Chris Knoblauch, too. Chris Knoblauch, coaching masterclass. My goodness gracious. Whatever he has learned from the playoff defeat from last year, he has clearly shown that he is willing to tweak things if he has to. He's willing to adjust players if he has to. He's willing to take guys out, put guys in. He's willing to change his system in the neutral zone, how they defend. And the team has responded beautifully. This team is so bought in. Chris Knoblauch, he knows how to push every single button on this roster is what I should say. And Kapanen is a major example of that. Now, when it comes to the Golden Knights, of course, Vegas fans tuning in, you're not going to like to see this. But Jack Eichel, Pavel Dorofeev, Brandon Saad, who only played a couple games, Thomas Hertl, Ivan Barbashev, and Brett Howden were all combined to score 0 goals in the series. All of those players, Eichel, Dorofeev, Saad, Hertl, Barbashev, Howden, 0 goals the entire series. The Edmonton Oilers shut down Vegas's best offensive producers. Stone had a couple of goals. Carlson had a couple of goals. But other than that, none of their forwards were able to generate anything. And we have to give credit to the way Edmonton defended. I know a lot of fan bases don't give the Oilers credit for their defense. And in years past, that was warranted. This is a much different team. The Oilers shut down Vegas's best players. It wasn't the other way around. The Oilers' best players still produced. Not at the level that they usually do, right? We're used to seeing McDavid and Draisaitl 1.5 to 2 points per game in most of their playoff series. They were about a point per game in this one. And they were held to a point per game. Vegas held the Oilers' best players to barely a point per game. But the Oilers held Vegas' best players to 0 goals in the entire series. That's the difference here. Edmonton's best players went into a shutdown role, more specifically Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl was given the task of going into a full shutdown role, especially after Game 3, where I thought he had his worst game as an Oiler, just period. Chris Knoblauch had a long conversation with him at practice before Game 4 and gave Draisaitl the assignment. Eichel is your guy to shut down. Can you do it? And Draisaitl said, yep, I got this, coach. And he executed. Incredible performance defensively by the entire team. But you have to give a ton of credit to Edmonton's top players as well, because even though they weren't producing, they weren't giving up anything in their own end of the barn, and that is key to playoff success, and we'll see what that looks like moving forward. Whether Edmonton will play Winnipeg or Dallas remains to be seen as of the recording of this video, but I like Edmonton's chances no matter who they play, because their star players have bought into it doesn't matter how many points we get. We are committed to defending. We are committed to holding the other team's best players to absolutely nothing and then getting some depth scoring from the rest of the lineup. And right now, the depth is there for Edmonton. Can it sustain? Oh, I sure hope so. Moving on, Bouchard, average time on ice in that series, led all players. In fact, he's led all players in the playoffs in round 2 for average time on ice. 27 minutes, 13 seconds per game, and he had a series high and playoff high +7 rating in round 2 as of the recording of this video. Evan Bouchard, for all the flack that he gets when it comes to the defensive side of the puck, oh my goodness, he showed that he can defend. And when he's tasked with defending and shutting things down, he's effective at it. He spent a decent amount of time in the defensive zone in this game, but there was a lot of dump-ins, and he's using his body for good positioning. He doesn't throw a lot of hits, but he uses his body for good positioning, and he made the right plays. In the last 2 games of this series, Evan Bouchard had a combined 1 giveaway in 2 games. 1 giveaway in 2 games. 1 giveaway in about 45 minutes of ice time, 47 minutes of ice time, or whatever it ended up being. Over 50 minutes of time on ice in the last 2 games. And he had 1 giveaway in that time. Evan Bouchard deserves all the praise that he gets. He's going to deserve whatever contract he is given. And Oilers fans, you are lucky to be witnessing one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL. Not only offensively, but right now we're seeing some of the best we've ever seen from him defensively. And obviously he was instrumental in Edmonton winning this series because of his play in the defensive zone. Great showing from Bouchard. Pay the man whatever it takes. I don't care. You pay your good players. They have to avoid a offer sheet fiasco with Bouchard because the team will offer him $11.5 million. I guarantee it. Oilers have to lock him up. In the series overall, the Oilers had a 54.66 expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5, so they did control the majority of the scoring chances at 5-on-5, or the expected goals at 5-on-5, I should say, and they also outscored Vegas 15-7 at 5-on-5 in this series. Vegas just could not get a puck past Stuart Skinner when it mattered most. And throughout the whole playoffs, Vegas really did struggle at scoring. I think their team shooting percentage at 5-on-5 finished at around 4 or 5%, like just super low. Like if you were to play this series over again, there's no way they would be held to the same amount of goals. Like 7 goals at 5-on-5 in 5 games. That's brutal. That is awful. Their top players went cold at the wrong time. Edmonton's best players also shut them down. And for Vegas, I don't think they have to tweak too much going into next season. If you're a Vegas fan, I think you understand that the team is still a very competitive, contending team. I just think, a couple bounces here and there. And if some of their top guys could get going, you're obviously not going to sustain a 4 or 5% shooting percentage, in future series. That's just one of those series that, kind of reminds me of the Oilers against Winnipeg in 2021, I believe. The Oilers got swept by the Jets. The Oilers controlled most of the play, but they couldn't score a goal to save their life. I think Hellebuck had a .930 or a .940 save percentage in that series against Edmonton, and that's hockey sometimes, right? In these smallish sample sizes of a 7-game series, sometimes you go cold. And it's unfortunate. If you're the Golden Knights, if you're management in Vegas, if you're a fan of the Golden Knights, I wouldn't overreact or panic to how the team went out. They're a great team. They should still be a division contending team next season. And I have no doubt Edmonton and Vegas will likely meet once again very, very soon in the playoffs. Now, my unsung heroes of this series, I have 3 specific players that I have not really mentioned at all in this video. Some of you know who they're going to be, but I purposely left them off of all of the charts until the very end here because I want to give them their due diligence. Number 1, Troy Stecher. This was a defenseman that Chris Knobloch, after Game 3 against Vegas, inserted into the lineup for Edmonton. They took Ty Emberson out, who at the time had played every game for Edmonton in the playoffs, but Emberson wasn't getting a lot of ice time. He was averaging 8, 9, maybe 10 minutes a night, some penalty kill time, but usually by the time the third period rolled around, Chris Knobloch would shorten his bench. He wouldn't play him at all, and it wasn't that they didn't trust him. They just wanted to leverage their more experienced players, their more experienced defensemen, to lock things down and, give those guys the ice time instead. Troy Stecher's been around for a long time. He's played a lot of NHL games. He understands what it takes to defend in high-pressure situations. He's not a rookie the way Ty Emberson is. And Emberson, he's a second-year player. He's not a rookie, but again, this is the first time Emberson's ever played in the playoffs, right? But Troy Stecher, he gets inserted into the lineup, and his first game in, He plays over 16 minutes, and he plays 16 very solid minutes. Him and Darnell Nurse were reunited as a pair, and they did so well together. And again, last night, same thing. What Troy Stecher brings to this defensive core is some extra tenacity, a little bit of physicality. He's pretty small, so he's not going to like bowl people over, but it's that tenacity. He is really quick at cutting off lanes. He's very good at applying pressure on forwards who skated into the zone or try and dump it. And Troy Stecher can also move the puck as well. I like his game a lot. He settles Darnell Nurse down. Troy Stecher is one of my unsung heroes for this series. Number 2, Vasily Podkolzin. I know a lot of you were waiting for me to talk about him. This is another player where I don't think he gets enough credit for what he is doing when he is not playing with the puck. He does a lot of good with it. Don't get me wrong. He scored a big goal in Game 2 against the Golden Knights. And of course, I think a lot of Oilers fans would like to see Podkolzin shoot the puck more because he has a pretty underrated shot. He has a very hard shot, but he doesn't shoot it often. He's usually trying to defer to guys like Draisaitl or Arvidsson or whoever he's playing with. Vasily Podkolzin, he started off this series on the 4th line. And then as the series progressed, he was given a checking role with Leon Draisaitl to shut down Jack Eichel. And he did it so well. Vasily Podkolzin, man, his two-way play away from the puck, the way he can get it on the forecheck, his physicality, of course, his speed. And again, he's a good puck. Like, he protects the puck well. He wins board battles. Podkolzin was instrumental in Edmonton winning this series. And he's not going to get a lot of credit because he had a single point in the series, but we have to acknowledge how much he did defensively for this team. Without Podkolzin, the Oilers do not move on the way they did, in my opinion. The fact that he was tasked to play with Leon Draisaitl and shut down another team's best player, the fact that the coaches entrusted him with that, it shows how much belief they have in their players up and down this lineup. Podkolzin was incredible. And my third unsung hero of the series and of the playoffs so far, really, is John Klingberg. Before the playoffs started, we didn't know if John Klingberg was even going to play a game for Edmonton. He had missed the last few weeks of the season. He had been in and out of the lineup during the regular season, and when he was in, he was okay, right? He wasn't outright terrible, but he wasn't, like, great. He fell a lot, and you could tell that there was some awkwardness with his skating, especially with the hip procedures that he's had over the last couple of seasons. But John Klingberg, for what he has gone through, the rehab he's gone through, and to be put into the role that he has, to be brought into the toughest situation of any player's career, and that's the NHL playoffs. It is the hardest time of year for a hockey player. John Klingberg has excelled so much more than I could have ever hoped for. His ability to transition the puck, his ability to skate the puck out of trouble, his ability to get shots towards the opponent's goal, find passing lanes, and the big thing that Klingberg's doing right now, too, that I think is really underrated, is keeping plays alive in the offensive zone. His ability to hold lines or jump up. Now, obviously, if he gets caught, he's taking risks, but they are calculated risks. He doesn't take a risk often, but when he does, it's like he understands that he can get there. He's taking the risks if he knows he can get a stick on it and keep a play alive. He has been instrumental in Edmonton's cycle success. He's been instrumental in their ability to keep pucks alive in the offensive zone. And for the Edmonton Oilers, they would not be where they are without the success of John Klingberg's play. If Klingberg can sustain this is like 2016 John Klingberg. This is like prime John Klingberg that we're getting to witness here in Edmonton. And that's unbelievable to me because it really truly looked like he may not play another game for the Oilers before the playoffs even started, especially with his injury history and kind of how awkward he was looking in the season. My, oh my. I love being proven wrong. And for Paul Coffey, too, as the coach that works with the defenders, he's the guy that rolls his defensive units. Huge credit to Paul Coffey as well. This team would not be where they are without Paul Coffey's guidance, without his belief in certain guys, and without his ability to help certain players thrive under different situational pressures. Huge moment for the Oilers. Paul Coffey has been a revelation for this team. And it's funny because when they hired him as an assistant coach, he didn't even want the job. He basically complained in his entire press conference that he didn't even want to be a coach. He didn't want to be there. And basically the team was like, please be here. And he's like, fine, I guess if I have to, but I really don't want to. Paul Coffey's been incredible behind the bench for Edmonton. So That is all I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed that series recap and day after discussion. Not my usual day after. I love how I said I couldn't talk for 40 minutes and I ended up talking for almost 40 minutes anyways. I love that. I am really good at content creation. I promise. I can't wait for, obviously, the conference finals. What does my content look like moving forward? Well, I am going to be doing live streams for other games as long as series are still going. Tonight, I will not be live, though. Taking tonight off, taking tomorrow off as well. But tomorrow night, for the Leafs and Panthers, I'm going to go live. We're going to hang out. It's going to be a very formal stream. I'm not going to do my usual, commentary. Like, for Oilers games, I'm doing, actual play-by-play. But we'll just do a watch-along for the Leafs game. We'll see if they can force a Game 7 tomorrow night. So if you want to be part of that, absolutely make sure you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed. Tell all your friends and family. Share my channel with all people in your life that you think might enjoy my content. Can't wait for the conference finals, and keep an eye out for more daily content as well. I think we all deserve a day or two off, though, as Oilers fans. So whatever you got planned this weekend, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. Tell someone that you love them. And as always, fight like a kid. Fight like Ben. Let's go, Oilers. We'll see you soon.